This is public land owned by a public entity, AISD, and the bidder now appears to be exploiting a public process in a way to void the input of the citizens who live adjacent to the property in question. It seems reasonable to request an opportunity to address this with AISD and to communicate that there are alternatives for achieving a true win-win rather than to force a rezoning upon an organized neighborhood who has diligently and respectfully been following the proper procedure. If there is an alternative to development of equal or higher value for AISD that can fulfill the comprehensive plan's directive to move density off the recharge zone and serve as yet another example of how Austin distinguishes itself as a place where neighborhoods work together with governmental bodies to shape a landscape that reflects innovation and forward thinking, then we are arguing that there should be a chance to fully explore that.
Thank you. Councilmember Morrison.
Thank you, Ms. Dunn. So we're basically talking about what the date of postponement is going to be, either June 14th, which is next week, June 28th, or August 2nd. And so I wanted to ask you what kind of endeavors you think you will be undertaking. You're mentioning other financially, you hope you're exploring other financial opportunities and things like that?
Yes, just briefly, there has been an ongoing effort within the neighborhood to find a way to meet AISD's needs and yet preserve the integrity of the neighborhood and preserve the land. So we think that there should be an opportunity to fully investigate what this means for the neighborhood and in parallel just be able to have discussions with AISD to let them know that there are alternatives that could be very viable and could be a win-win rather than this kind of a process that really voids any public, any citizen input.
And so you would be exploring and interacting with AISD if you found some options and all.
Ideally, if we could.
If you could. Okay. Thank you very much.
So you would be exploring ways to make sure that AISD received the same financial benefit that they would receive if the property were upgraded?
Of course, that's the #1 priority.
Okay, thanks. But in reality, the redrawing of the boundaries actually provides more open space adjacent to the neighborhoods than was the case originally.
We don't know. There are many questions to us. I mean, if by spot rezoning, we understand that there would be a perimeter that there would still be public zoning, and we don't know what that means. There are so many open-ended questions as to what that means for the neighborhood. And what it means for the process. Could that then be rezoned at a later date? So many questions, and we have a long list of that. If y'all want to discuss that, we're happy to.
Thank you.
When did you submit your first request for redrawing the boundaries? Was it last week?
I don't have the exact date. I would say yes, last week.
And so you said that.
Still in May.
Did you receive some feedback? It sounds like, I mean, you talked about not having much contact with the homeowners association. So did you receive feedback from them that they felt that wasn't an adequate buffer, because you said you redrew the boundaries to provide more buffer? Was there actually any kind of correspondence with the homeowners association on that front?
No, not with the opposition group. No.
With the homeowners association?
Well, there are two parts of the homeowners association. So we've been talking to one part of them, but not to the other, because the other party does not want to speak with us. So we've listened to the people that did want to speak to us.
Okay. But in terms of the point you were making about why you redrew the boundaries, it was to provide more of a buffer?
More of open space, yes.
And I didn't understand who you said you were. You said you were not the applicant.
Yes, I am the applicant.
I didn't understand your description.
I said when there was a statement being made that this is just the bidder that's asking you for this request. I said, no, not a bidder. I'm a contracted party with AISD. This is not during the bidding process. We're beyond that. That was finished in December.
Thank you for explaining that distinction. I heard you say you were not this, you were that, but yes, I missed what the terms were.
That's why I said not a bidder, but contracted party. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Hope it's clear.
Councilmember Spellman.
Sir, Jerry Russ, over in Planning and Development Review. Mr. Rusthoven, when this was first submitted, it was the entire 12-acre lot?
Yes.
And there was a petition submitted. What was the status of the petition at the time it was originally drafted?
The petition was determined to be valid.
Okay, and that was, I remember hearing the percentage, 86?
I believe that was a number, yes, right around there.
Okay, so we got an 86% valid petition. Everybody is against it to 19.75. How do you get from 86 to 19.75?
You can shrink the boundary in 200 feet, if we're talking about a circle.
Okay.
You're going in 200 feet, so you take away the ability of all the folks around the edge to count
Okay.
towards the petition.
Okay.
So by moving it in 200 feet, you essentially take away all those signatures. And so in this case, it's mostly 200 feet around, and then there's a portion of it where they didn't have to take out that 200 feet because they were already under the 20%.
Okay. So, for example, if there were no need for a driveway and you could just helicopter into this place, you could bring the whole thing in with a 200-foot buffer all the way around, and there would be no possibility of a valid petition. Am I right?
That's correct, yes.
And that's more or less what sans helicopters. That's kind of what the applicant was trying to do here, right?
Yes, but obviously there's still a portion that gets to the street, so you don't need the helicopter. I believe that from looking at it, that the applicant has created the boundaries in such a way that it would be impossible for there to be a valid petition.
Okay. So if for example, I remember the neighborhood association hoping to find a way of making his petition valid, more or less what the applicant has done through this successive shrinkage of boundaries is made it technically impossible. Even if everybody within the 200-foot zone who is eligible to sign a petition has signed it and is declared eligible to sign it, there's just so much of a buffer around the current shrunk area that it's just not possible for it to be valid.
I believe we've reached that point, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so as Councilmember Morrison pointed out, we basically have a choice of dates for postponement. I would suggest that because we have the recess for the entire month of July, after the 28th, the next available date is August 2nd. And it makes sense to me that we could reschedule this case for the 28th of June at that point and make a determination whether to hear it or postpone it again.
Mayor?
Councilmember Morrison.
I think your logic is sound, and I'm particularly interested in knowing if there really are some pragmatic alternatives that might be considered. So hopefully by June 28th, you all will be able to come back and let us know if there are alternatives on the table. If you can have conversations and explore that, that would be great.
Mayor?
Councilmember Spellman.
By common convention, there's no formal rule on the subject, but by convention we allow each side to have a postponement. In this case, given that the neighborhood believes that there may be a possibility that they need more time than until June 28th, if they seek a postponement and have good reasons for seeking a postponement on the 28th of June, I'd like to put on the table that, in my opinion, we should take very seriously their request, even though they've already had a postponement.
Councilmember Morrison.
And of course, we can always make a motion to postpone.
We can.
Yes. Which I agree we will need to consider seriously.
Is that a motion, Councilmember Morrison? Postpone until 28th. Second by Councilmember Spellman. For the discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Postpone until June 28th.